Welcome into WarUp on the WPIAL. Greg Warnock alongside Jeff Upson. And Jeff had to take a week off, a little bit under the weather on your end, and now we're back fully healthy and ready to rock and roll.
I mean, I wouldn't say fully healthy, but I'm managing. But yes. I was going to use the excuse that you were just gearing up for the Steelers game, but you let the cat out of the bag that I was sick. I think I got sick twice. I think I was sick twice because I'm still not feeling the best, but it is what it is.
Well, I remember a few years back. I'll never forget it.
When
You
I had
were like, "Hey,
laryngitis at Powerade.
no, that too." I was talking about a few years back. If you remember, it was like one of the all-time great NFL games. The Chiefs played the Bills in a conference championship game, and you were like, "No, we're doing the show tonight. Our show's better than that." It was like
I never said
a
our show was
historic
better
game.
than that.
You were very adamant that, hey, people that want to know wrestling would tune into us over that football game. And so then obviously the Steelers played on Monday night, and I'm like, hey, do you want to kick this a day? So obviously we did, and then you got under the weather. So
Yeah.
I'll take the blame for Monday, but I can't take the blame for the whole week.
No, but that was a really good playoff game. You're right. I remember the next week you were like, "See, you made us miss the best game. They're calling it the best game in the history of the NFL." And I was like, "Okay, but I only got to watch the first half of the Steelers game, but I know they won. Heard there was some controversy, um, but Mike Tomlin, baby, the best. Never had a losing season. I mean, sign him for another 20 years. What the hell? Why not?"
Well, hey, I mean they're one win away, right, from being able to clinch a playoff, clinch a division.
Yeah, like so that's what they say. I don't know. We'll see.
But obviously, we'll see. They won't have DK Metcalf for 2 weeks, so
He's suspended
uh,
2 weeks for that interaction with the fan.
he is. Yeah, just
Oh
came
man,
out.
he's on my fantasy team. Good thing I lost in the semifinals of my fantasy league. So
I'm sure you weren't riding, getting successful over his work this past
no,
season.
I
So
was better off having Kenneth Gainwell if I was gonna have anybody.
yeah, he's definitely been the star of the show, without a doubt. You know who else has been a star the last couple of weeks, Jeff? The Kiski area Cavaliers. Let's dive into
Is
some
that why
wrestling
you're wearing the
talk.
team shirt? Is that why you're wearing the
It,
team shirt today?
it is.
Yeah, I
It
figured.
is. They've been representing well these last couple of weeks.
They
So
sure have.
you know I got to make sure Chris Heater knows I appreciate the gear. So keep it coming. I'll keep wearing it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But Kiski area has been on a roll. They had a great duel. They had a Kiski area Cavalier duels a little over a week ago now, about 10 days ago, and they were impressive, Jeff. They beat Hempfield area 51-15. They beat Fort LaBeouf 55-9, Du Bois 49-24. And then the big wins, they beat Cannon McMillan 35-25, and then they beat North Allegheny as well 45-22. And then they coupled that with a win that following Tuesday against Burrell. They won 30-27.
Yeah, I mean Kiski's they're the hottest team in the WPIAL right now. And I will say for the record, the WPIAL is an absolute mess. Well, AAA dual teams are an absolute just train wreck right now. You can't make heads or tails out of the team race. Norwin, we've seen them against Cannon McMillan, but we haven't really seen them against much else around the WPIAL. So it's hard to maybe get an accurate assessment of them. But Kiski, man, they rolled through their own duels. They got some really big individual wins. Cooper Roskowski beat Kendall Orr from Du Bois. If you remember, Kendall Orr is the one who beat Elijah Brown. So that was a huge win by Roskowski. They just got really big wins throughout the day, right? That win that they had over Cam McMillan, 35-25. There were some interesting results in the middle. But for the most part, Kiski was just able to get the big time matchups, right? They were able to get some bonus points despite Bryce Collins beating Abraham Taylor. Hutcherson was able to tech Braden Collins. Roskowski, on the other hand, bumps up to 285 and only gives up against Dakota Carmona and only gives up a decision to him. So that's pretty big for Cannon Mac, but that was still not enough for the Big Macs to come away with a win. So that was super surprising. But when you look at Kiski, I mean they're a solid team. We'll see what they can do against a team like a Norwin or a Franklin Regional or even Connellsville. But and there's a lot that's going to change from early December to late January, right? The 2 pound allowance is in what, 3 days? So we're going to see some teams shifting. We're going to see some guys that are moving around in weights. Probably the biggest match that I had circled here was 133 when Gavin Murphy beat John Emma 14-8. That was a huge win for Murphy. And overall, they were just able to get some big time wins where it counted.
Yeah, and then obviously to turn around from there and take on Burrell, who is right now one of the top teams in Double A, and able to get that victory as well. They are definitely just rolling as they go into the new year and hoping to continue that stride. Cannon Mac, give them for what they for what it's worth. I mean, they have really stacked the schedule in December, and so we talk about a team that has really, they're going to be battle tested here come end of January. They also dropped a loss to North Allegheny as well, 35-27.
Yeah, and that one, I'll say that was a little fluky. And this is not taking anything away from North Allegheny, but they had Mason Calgaro at 160. He lost by injury default against Hernandez. Now, I'm not saying that Calgaro would have ended up getting bonus points there, but he's certainly not getting pinned there. So that's going to change things. They also, for the day, did not have Gianna Gardner wrestling for them the whole day. So he is in there at 127. Him and Schomburg, probably more of a toss-up. I'd give Gardner the edge a little bit, but instead Schomburg texts Andrew Sewell. So I think a fully healthy Cannon McMillan team would be able to win that match. But again, not taking anything away from North Allegheny, they came out and they wrestled really well. They got some big time wins where they needed it. Griffin Reed got a tech fall over Aiden Finnegan, which I thought was a really impressive win for him. Yeah, I mean, so you're right. When it comes to battle tested, Cannon McMillan is definitely going to be battle tested, right? But when I'm thinking about the seeding that the WPIAL committee is going to have to do, I mean, it's going to be tough, right? Because you're going to have a lot of these teams that are beating each other up. Cannon Mac beats Connellsville, then Connellsville can come back and beat a bunch of these other teams that have wins over Cannon McMillan, right? So, and I think a lot of these lineups are going to shift. I think Franklin Regional, we're going to see some shifting in there, right? We're going to see some of their guys coming down. We're going to see Bo Fennick come back eventually, right? So a lot of these teams are going to look a little bit different in a couple weeks, right? So the matchups are obviously important. But yeah, I mean, Kiski had a great weekend, or great last couple weeks, to be honest with you. So and they're going to benefit a little bit from the 2 pound allowance too. So have a little bit more flexibility. That's always a good thing to have. Like is a little bit more flexibility. If you have some reserves in the tank that you can put out, and having some matchups that you can get, that's always better. And with the WPIAL this year, it's just so the parities there is just, it's out of control, right? I think on any given day, any team, like a good 5 teams could win it, right? So it makes it fun, but for rankings purposes, it makes it a little bit challenging. Is a word I'd use to describe it.
And could make it challenging for the seating committee.
Yeah, I don't
when they get
I don't
together
envy
here at
Phil
the end of
Mary and
January.
the rest of the committee for sure.
You brought up Franklin Regional. They had a big win as well over Moon, 33-25. Again, no Bo Fennick in that one, but they did get a couple of big wins at Franklin Regional, including Chase Smith over Kale Yannick, 8-3. But a solid win for Franklin Regional, and it puts Moon into that conversation as far as still being in that top 8 mix.
Yeah, I mean, look, Moon's got some hammers, right? Moon's got some absolute hammers that I think if they can get some of their other guys to perform at a high level, right? When you have Bryce Thomas leading you off, right? Hayden Seymour, a very tough freshman. You have a guy like Cale Yannick. Now he did lose to Chase Smith. Chase Smith's having a good year, but look at like Zach Regatti at 152. Max Firestein bumps up, and then he beats him. Right, that's a guy who, I mean, Regatti's a middle of the road guy. I mean, in the WPIAL, he's lost in the shuffle for sure. I mean, he's not somebody that's on a lot of people's radars, but a state qualifier bumps up from 45 to 52, and he gets a decision out of there. Liam Costa gets a good win over Ethan Cartwright 4-1. So, yeah, there's definitely look. They've got some hammers, and it seems like they have some other guys that are going to compete. But I put them in the same boat, kind of like with Trinity a little bit. A lot of good individuals, a lot of balance. But do they have enough horsepower? Do they have enough, rounds in the clip that they can actually finish out a duel and get a big win? Right? They're going to be close with a lot of the top teams, but I don't know if they have enough to actually get a top 5 win. Right? I don't know if they're going to have enough to beat a Norwin or obviously a Franklin Regional, Canamac, Connellsville, etc. So, but yeah, definitely in the conversation for sure.
Obviously, we're wrapping up the dual part of December, right? Gonna have the Christmas holiday, gonna have the holiday tournaments, the New Year, and then we'll get back into the duels here come January. Jeff, when you look at it right now, I think Double A first. I think it's pretty clear, right? You got Burrell, Derry, McGuffey, still probably the solid 1, 2, 3. Outside of that, 4, 5, that could be up for debate. AAA, though, I know you said it's hard to rank them, but how's 1 through 5 look as of today?
Oh man, are you really gonna put like that's torture, Greg? Like, that's really that's not nice of you to do. Right now, right, December 22nd, based on the results, I mean, you have to go Norwin 1, Kiski 2. I mean, that there's
Not Franklin Regional 1?
I don't think no, I don't think so, because who have they wrestled to this point other than Moon, right? I mean, on paper, Norwin's beat Cannon McMillan. Their only losses to Malvern Prep. They've won. They beat Plum. They're undefeated in their league. They're 2-0 in their league, right? I mean, Franklin Regional has wrestled a bunch of teams from West Virginia. Look, this is not predictions. These aren't, I'm saying for seeding purposes, I think you'd have to go.
Yeah, I'm not holding you to it for sure. If we got all of January to figure it out, right? I'm just saying more of, as of today.
Yeah, as of today, if I was on the seeding committee, as of today, and the season ended, right? Dual meet season ended, Norwin would be the first seed, Kiski would be the second seed, Franklin Regional would probably be third. North Allegheny might be fourth. I don't know. It just depends, right? I mean, how does Jeff Upson personally feel like it's going to be? I think it's going to be vastly different than that. I think Connellsville is going to right some wrongs. I think Connellsville is going to end up getting guys down the weight, and I think they're going to be better than what they were when they lost in their home gym to Cannon McMillan. Cannon McMillan, to me, is the team that's hard to figure out. I feel like they're a very bipolar team. I saw them on the same week, once against Norwin, once against Connellsville. I saw 2 different teams. So, and of course, when they go to Kiski duels and they take 2 losses, yeah, they had some guys out, they had some guys injured, but I can't make heads or tails of what Cannon McMillan team's going to show up, right? So I don't know if I would necessarily bet the house that they're going to be, in the top 3. So, and again, a lot of these teams have injury issues. Bo Fennick is a huge anchor for Franklin Regional. If you don't have him in against some of these league matches, that's a problem, right? North Allegheny did very well, right? But they lost to Kiski. Kiski is looking really, really good. So I think you have to have them and Norwin probably in the top 2. Franklin Regional 3, North Allegheny probably 4. But that's just that's just seedings, right? I wouldn't say necessarily for my predictions or rankings purposes, but that's certainly where I would say the seeding committee would put them. Look, Double A is easy as heck, right? I mean, Burl, Derry, and McGuffey are three, and they're way ahead of the rest of the pack, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You mentioned Connellsville. They actually wrestled before the Pitt Edinburgh match this past Saturday at Pitt, and Connellsville battled St. Edward's pretty tough. They ended up losing 39-29, but they definitely were in a lot of those bouts. Got some big wins early on, took a big lead early on. Zach Franks did not wrestle, but he wrestled in an exhibition match. So I'm thinking maybe he might just be getting down to weight
He
because of
is,
the,
yeah, he is.
you know, the
He's
the
and
the descent plan.
yeah, he's getting down the weight. And to be honest with you, he's in that match. I mean, it's a whole different result in my opinion. Because you're giving up six there. I certainly think he gets a win. I'm not sure it's going to be a major, or I don't know if it's going to be a tech or what. I think he definitely gets a win there. Yeah, that they're gonna. You're right. That was a really good match. But I think we're going to see a very different Collinsville team once they're
Yeah.
able to get some guys down into weight. But yeah, that was fun. You were obviously there for that, right?
I was, yeah, and it was a surprise to me. I didn't know that they were wrestling there that day, and found out that the morning of, and I was there for it, and it was really good to see. I mean, definitely thought they wrestled really well, and obviously St. Edwards is a tough team, right?
Yeah,
Got a lot of hammers, a lot of studs, and they showed up pretty well.
yeah. I mean, throughout the middle, Collinsville took some lumps. Nolan Rice loses 2-0. Lynn gets pinned. Smith gets pinned. And Vielma gets a tech. So yeah, I mean, again, I don't know if it's a great barometer for us to use to compare with the WPIAL, right? WPIAL teams, but they certainly are. I mean, St. Ed's is a nationally ranked team, so Collinsville is right
Yep.
there with some of the best. So again, we'll see what happens when they get guys down into the weight classes where I think they're going to be more competitive. But yeah, it's Triple A's wide open, and I love it, but I hate it at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Couple of tournaments, Jeff, from this past weekend that wanted to talk through. One of those was the Nurse Pro Plus tournament down in West Virginia. Trinity ended up finishing in second place, Franklin Regional third, Penn Trafford fourth. Other teams in it included Ringgold, Southmoreland, Fraser, Carlinton. But overall, a lot of these teams, showed up pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, and this is always a good tournament. We were actually going to try to stream it, but I couldn't get anybody to commit to get down there. We actually had two Trinity teammates wrestle in the finals at 113 pounds. I don't know if you saw that. Parker Jennings and
I
Jackson
did.
Hoy wrestled with Jennings beating him 4-2. Jennings is going down to 107 once the 2 pound kicks in, so that helps Trinity out a little bit with getting those two separated. Dylan Barrett won it. The one match that I had circled was Luke DeSantis from Penn Trafford, who beat Titus Colangelo 5-3. Now Colangelo will be down for 123 when he wrestles in the Powerade tournament, so that again helps Frank Regional when they can get some guys into the lineup and they can get some guys down to weight. Like Sal Nassif, he'll probably go down to 27. So um, Dom Canali won it from Trinity. Max Firestein won it, and Michael Ron beat Jonah Erdley in a 5-3 match. That's a battle of two WPIAL wrestlers. So liked seeing that. And Kristen Lowther also won it at 165. And Caden Shannon, all the way up at heavyweight, gets a win there too. So yeah, I love this tournament just because it's a one-day tournament. You get to see teams from outside of the state, but it's funny because a lot of the same teams from the same section and the same district all go down there, right? You got Penn Trafford, Franklin Regional, you got Ringgold, Trinity, Fraser, right? I mean, there's a lot of teams from the same area that are competing, so you oftentimes do get to see a lot of the familiar faces, but with sprinkling in some of the guys that you are probably never going to see again. So, yeah, that was a good tournament.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Looking ahead, it was also the weekend for the King of the Mountain tournament, and Cannon McMillan, talking about them quite a bit. They were the fifth place team in that tournament overall, and the highest ranking team from the WPIAL. Burrell also made their appearance, and they finished in 13th place. Latrobe finished in 15th. West Allegheny was also there, as well as Bethel Park and Shaler, to name a few. But you look at some of the results, Jeff, as far as this tournament. What is there anything in particular that kind of stuck out to you?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot that stuck out to me, to be honest with you. There were some good performances and not some great performances. I was very curious to see Burrell, because we got to see him against Kiski, but this was the first individual tournament for the Bucks, so I was really anxious to see them compete on an individual level. At 114 pounds, Lee Dreschman from Cannon McMillan, I thought had a good tournament, finishing in third. Andrew Alexander from Mifflin County was second, and he's a state qualifier, ranked top 3 in the state. So I think that's a good barometer for where he's at. Anthony Jones, he won this tournament last year, beat some really good wrestlers to get there. He ends up finishing in 7th place. And you look at 121, you had Bronson, who I thought had a really good tournament. He had a couple good wins over some District 3 ranked wrestlers that got him into the top 8. So I thought Bronson's not one of the ones that I think about from Latrobe that's always going to be, the first mentioned, but I certainly thought that he had a good tournament. Cam Baker, this was probably my most anticipated return, was Cam Baker. There was some question whether he was going to be at 133 or 127. He ends up being at 133, where he takes third. And the guys that he finished behind are pretty solid, right? You got Dom Deputy, who's committed to NC State. You got Braden Weaver, who's committed to Penn State, that finished 1 and 2 ahead of him. So I thought that was an impressive performance by Cam. I'm curious to know if we're going to see him down at 127 for the Powerade tournament, though.
Yeah, should be interesting for sure. I think I would think you would, but we'll see, right? His teammate Jacob Stewart at 139, he had a big win over Thomas Benchio in overtime for third place. So all WPL matchup in the third place matchup. Julian Bertucci of Burrell finished in 4th place as well. So just a couple of other Burrell guys in the top 4 finishing out. But a lot of WPL wrestlers making it into the top 8. Not a lot of the star power, though, getting into the finals, right? I think that was the one thing missing for the WPIAL.
And
but then again, this tournament, you got some of the best in the state.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I said about like the disappointment. Like a guy like Collier Hartman, he loses twice. He loses to Aiden Coons, who he actually lost to at the Super 32 early entry qualifier back in August. But then he loses to Barrett Kiefer from Mannheim Central. That was kind of a disappointing performance by Collier Hartman. I thought when you look at 189 pounds, Hunter Snyder, I saw him here last year at the King of Mountain. He ends up losing to Hayden Harvey from Montoursville 16-9. He comes back to take third, but I think that's a match he should be winning. He's a Division I commitment. I think he should be winning that match. But again, ebbs and it flows. This was a great tournament. I love this tournament for rankings because we get to figure out so much with rankings. This is such a good tournament for that because the pecking order between District 3, District 6, District 7, it becomes pretty clear, in my opinion.
No doubt about it. Another really good tournament from this past weekend was the Panther Holiday Classic, where Derry finished in 2nd place and the highest among WPIAL schools. We also mentioned McGuffey. They finished in 10th place, and Bentworth wasn't far behind in 11th place for the WPIAL. And some good matchups as far as seeing a couple of champions. We were able to see that as well. William McNeil was a champion at 145 pounds from the WPIAL. Lucas Barr of McGuffey finished in 2nd place at 139 pounds. Matthew Dana of Quaker Valley, he finished in 2nd at 160. An all WPIAL matchup at 172. Mason Horwath of Derry majored Owen Ivsick Bentworth 11-2. Brady Brown of Derry finished in second place at 189 as well. So WPIAL was able to get several guys into the finals here in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean this is one of the best tournaments of the season for me. I love the Panther Holiday. I love this tournament for a variety of reasons. But I was there all weekend and got to see all the action up close. And man, it was a lot of fun. Those finals were really entertaining. That Lucas Barr and Ben Straub match was back and forth. I mean, they each had each other on their backs. And we streamed both the King of Mountain and the Panther Holiday. So, um, if you want to watch the finals, go back and watch them. They're definitely worth the price. The guy who stood out the most from the WPIAL for me was Will McNeil. Excuse me, from Derry. He looked really good for a freshman. He and Doug McKim, who's also a freshman from Huntington, McKim beat Matthew Dana 9-5 in the finals. That's a freshman over a senior. But man, I was impressed with McNeil. 45 certainly wasn't the deepest weight class there, but I thought he looked really good throughout. And 172, Mason Horwat. I mean, that was my pick for OW because he just took it to Owen Ifchik, who we know is a very good wrestler. Those two have split matches before in the past. That was a really, really impressive, dominating performance from Horwat. He's up 20 pounds, right? He wrestled 152 last year. He's up to 172, and he looks like he hasn't skipped a beat. So I was impressed with that. Kyle Scott and Brady Brown, that's a 2 versus 3 in the state, right? And that was a 1-0 match. Not a whole lot of action, right? But certainly a match that we could see several times this year. Philip Rierick from Armstrong is right now the top ranked wrestler in the state at heavyweight because Dean Bechtold's is banged up and he's hurt, but he looked really good against Jack Peters, a guy who's a returning state qualifier. So I thought overall the WPIAL did pretty well. There were some other guys like Drake McClure, Kostanovic from Avonworth, I thought had a good tournament. He beat a really tough Braden Wivel from Northern York in the 3rd and 4th place match. A lot of the freshmen that I was looking forward to seeing from Derry did well. Patrick Bulger finished in 4th place. You had Camden Olson find his way on. So, yeah, it was a fun tournament, man. There's just a lot of talent there. It's mainly more of a AA tournament, but there was certainly a lot of good wrestling throughout the top 8. Like you're going to see some of these guys that finish top 8 that are going to finish higher in Hershey, which is always a good benchmark for your tournament.
Yeah, you mentioned Barr and McClure. They both wrestled in the semifinals. Barr beating McClure 6-3. You got a feeling if they stay in the same weight, they'll be wrestling a few more times. Mason Kiesecker of Derry, he was made it to the semifinals at 107, then ended up forfeiting his way to 6th place.
Yeah,
So
he unfortunately missed weight, and that was unfortunate because I was looking forward to seeing him potentially wrestling in the finals against Leo Murillo from Trinity.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's definitely disappointing to see him finish that way, for sure. But yeah, you mentioned Bulger finishing in 4th place. Tucker Main and McGuffey finished in 4th as well. Kasanovic had a solid tournament, finishing in 3rd. So overall, the AA guys, I think it hasn't been as plentiful, I guess you could say, in AA. I think in the WPIL over the last couple of years, right? You have your studs, but it wasn't like it was super deep in the state tournament. And I think this is a year where AA could be a little bit deeper than in years past.
Sorry, Greg, I was blowing my nose trying to get some gunk out there. You're right. I think there's a lot of depth here in AA this year. And I'm looking forward to seeing especially McGuffey. I was impressed with McGuffey. All their guys seem to battle really well. So I'd like to see them and Derry and Burrell mix it up because I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Well, there's a lot of great action, and I think one tournament that we don't really talk about much, Jeff, just because there's not a lot of WPL focus, but do want to make mention, and that's Landon Sidden of Norwin winning the Beast of the East tournament this past weekend. great showing for him and just continuing to show why he's the best guy in the nation.
Yeah, and actually, he had a really good match with a former state champion, Don Morrison. It ends up being an overtime match for Landon Sidden against Don Morrison from Hatboro Horsham. Um, yeah, but outside of that match, which I think you look at it and it's not surprising to see Don Morrison keep it close with him. It was 4-1 in sudden victory. Morrison's is a tough. He's a tough out. Um, but Landon was dominant, right? In the finals, he beat Batista from Blair. He beat him 5-1. In the semifinals, he got a major decision. So, maybe some of it's just kind of style matchups or familiarity with each other. Um, I thought Noah Kern wrestled well. He does lose in the blood round, as does Riley Schaefer. Riley Schaefer is another one that's coming along really well. Um, he wasn't on my bingo card as somebody who was going to be a blood round at Beast of the East for Norwin. But yeah, it's Norwin's gonna be a tough. They're a solid team, man. They're top to bottom. They're very tough, and they don't have a lot of holes, right? So that always helps when you're trying to win a WPIAL championship.
Well, Jeff, this week obviously slows down a bit with the holiday here coming up on Thursday, and then obviously the weekend. Everybody's getting back down the weight from taking care of having some family time, and then obviously the big tournaments coming up here Monday, Tuesday of next week. Most of the WPL schools who are wrestling over this holiday break will be at either Powerade or the Southmoreland Holiday Classic. Uh, Two really great tournaments to go check out here coming up on Monday the 29th and Tuesday the 30th.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be going out to the Conestoga Valley Neil Turner Memorial before Powerade, and then going to Powerade. Um, there's a lot of really good tournaments, right? And you look at the Trojan Wars, the My House Trojan Wars out in Chambersburg. Bell Vernon's there, Hempfield area's there. I believe that's their first time there, and Jefferson Morgan's there as well. So that's a good tournament with some WPIAL flavor to it, and of course, as you mentioned, we've got some big tournaments coming up, right? We're not gonna skimp over Powerade or anything like that, but it's certainly gonna be fun, right? Between that and Southmoreland, it's always fun at the individual level. Um, North Allegheny is going back out to the Hurricane Classic, which I really like. I love seeing them going out there and competing against some of those District 11, District 1 teams. Um, and the Powerade, which is surprising because if you look at the Powerade tournament, I think there's only like 20 WPIAL teams, 20 or 22, something like that. It's not a lot, right?
Yeah.
It's not a lot. And there's definitely gonna be there's some struggles there. Besides your big names, there's gonna be some really big gaps there. And I got word that Roman Thompson from Central Catholic is not gonna be wrestling. He's gonna be focusing on football. So that's a huge loss because he'll be missed at Central Catholic. A guy who was ranked top 5 in the state throughout his career, so he's not going to be wrestling. We talked about Dylan Pitzer not wrestling and focusing on football. So, it's I get it, but yeah, kind of wish I would see these guys on the mat.
Yeah, I think it's just the way of the times, right? You have to really focus on one sport, and just because of the demands, even in the off season, right? Football season's over. Everybody's thinking, well, why aren't they going to wrestle? Well, now it's like, hey, you still got to do these conditioning and practices, and it's just the way it has become, right? Even wrestling, right? If
Yeah.
wrestling is your sport, you're doing it all year round. If you want to be in the truly elite, you know, some of these guys we talk about, they're wrestling all season, all year long. And it's good and it's bad, right? I think it's good because you get to see people really take to the next level and really focus on their craft, but it's also and in a sport they should love, right, if they're doing it all year round, but it's also tough in the sense that you see some really good athletes like Thompson, like Pitzer, who should be out there competing, and if this was 5, 10, 20 years ago, we're watching them compete, but it's just hard this day and age.
Yeah, it is. It is hard. But that's kind of the way of the world. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Shout out to Tristan and TC Warner tuning in from their basements in Mechanicsburg. Happy to have them coming on and listen to us.
In a WPIAL show?
That's crazy. I know they're way too good for the. They always talk smack on WarUp on the WPIAL, but yet they're texting me about the show. So obviously they're listening. So yeah, gotta love them.
I'm
Our
quite
second
shocked.
issue, and this is that was a good segue for me. Our holiday issue, our December issue of Pennsylvania Wrestling News Magazine comes out tomorrow. Digital version will be available first. That'll be tomorrow, and then they're being printed right now, and will be getting out into your mailbox before Christmas. But digital version comes out tomorrow. Coverage from all of the PIAA districts plus all 3 NCAA divisions. Girls wrestling got a really good. Probably my favorite part of the magazine in the December issue is Tom Elling's opinion piece. He talks about the forfeit problem, the plagues of forfeits, and the kind of the slow death of dual meets. So it's really good. So yeah, I would definitely encourage you, if you haven't already, go on to PA Power Wrestling and go to Pennsylvania Wrestling News Magazine. And a digital subscription is only $25. So last minute Christmas shopping, you got it right there.
There we go. Make sure you check that out. And next week we'll have a preview of the Powerade tournament. Not sure of when that'll be coming out, but just stay on the socials, right, Jeff? And we'll make sure to let you know when that's coming.
Yes, sir.
For Jeff Upson, I'm Greg Warnock. We appreciate you listening in and watching in to War Up on the WPIL.